So welcome to Teachers Talking Teaching, where we celebrate and elevate the profession of teaching. Today we have Carla Hewitt with us, who has been an elementary teacher, and we're excited to hear about your journey to become a teacher, Carla. Tell us, why did you decide to go into teaching?
Well, my mom's family were all educators, and I remember years of sitting around the big round table at my grandmother's house, and they were all very passionate about their jobs. I had an uncle who was a professor, and my mom who taught college level and high school. And so, I mean, the passion was there with them, even though they would joke about not making enough money and how hard the work was. But I, from a very young age, felt a part of it, I think. In high school, I was a camp counselor and up at Rocky Mountain National Park, and for a horsemanship counselor for a while. So I had, that love of helping children, and for years and years. However, for a hot minute, after I decided I was going to go into education and enrolled in college, I decided, you know what, that's what everybody expected. So I veered off and got a different degree, and then came back and did my education degree as soon as I finished the first degree. So
Did you have this moment of like, what?
Yeah, I had a moment of, why did I do this? But I also was very stubborn, and I'm like, I'm going to finish this degree first, and then I got my education degree.
So what made you choose elementary, especially? So
I know none of my other family had been elementary. So my mom volunteered one time in a kindergarten classroom, one time. And then she's like, this is not for me, because she was a high school and a college teacher. Yeah, I just gravitated to elementary, I guess. So I was the only one around the round table after that with the elementary stories. So.
Oh, and the elementary stories are the best.
They are good stories.
They are good stories.
Good stories.
So what different grades have you taught in elementary?
I have taught third grade, first grade, and kindergarten.
Oh,
so
nice. Do you have a favorite?
I love first grade. My saying at the time was first grade is fantastic, and I just feel like you make the most difference there, right? They have such a large span from learning to read until the end of first grade that it really was my passion, and I loved teaching first grade.
Yeah, I can relate. My very first year teaching was first grade, and I felt exactly like you said, like where they started and where they ended. It's definitely the year where I feel like you see there's a tangible difference between where they started and where they ended. I have a feeling that happens in every grade. It's just not quite as remarkable to go from not counting to adding and subtracting, to go from not reading to reading. There's some major change in there.
Right.
So, yeah. But now you are in the role of an interventionist.
Yes.
So what led to that path?
That path started when my daughter was 6 years old. I was teaching in the same building. One of my colleagues said, I need you to schedule a conference with me. We need to write an ILP, an individual literacy payout plan. And as a teacher, I was like, oh my gosh, my daughter is struggling. And so we wrote the plan. And then at that point, I'd been teaching kindergarten, and I thought, I do not know enough about teaching reading. I didn't have I didn't get the education I needed when I was in school. So I started doing a ton of research on my own, reaching out to people. I started going down to Denver for classes because there weren't enough close to me. Just started doing as much research as I could about teaching reading. And I kind of became the voice in our building, especially when the National Reading Panel did their research and put out their pamphlet in 2001, I guess it was, right? So I really wanted to put those skills that I was acquiring. I was glad to have them for my kindergarten classroom and glad to have them to help my daughter make a difference in her reading achievement. But I wanted to put those skills to use for more students. So an opportunity opened up 11 years ago, and I moved to intervention then.
That's awesome. And I know you've done some even teaching of teachers, like you present at different conferences. So it's led your research and your own, exploration has led you to help others.
Yes, I was really fortunate that one of the classes I took was letters, and Louisa Moats was presenting in Loveland, and I was one of the only one of the only teachers from my district at that training, and I was pretty passionate about it. And so there were people there from CDE, and they asked if I wanted to be a facilitator for letters within my own district. And I was like, well, I'll give it a whirl. It wasn't anything I'd done, so I started on that route. And then, yes, now I'm in business with one of the teachers at my building, and we've done 3 summers of structured literacy seminar type things. They're 3 days long. So last summer was our biggest group ever. We had 27 for one of our 3-day sessions.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. So when you think about, the role of an interventionist and, what it maybe takes to be an interventionist versus a classroom teacher, how do the two roles look different?
I think the biggest piece is that collaboration piece, because now you're collaborating not just within a grade level of teachers, but I'm collaborating with kindergarten, first and second grade teachers, and often third grade teachers too. We kind of have a split at the building I'm in where we have a 3-5 interventionist and a K2, but I feel that collaboration piece is a huge among grade, because each grade level has their own idiosyncrasies that they're working with. So I think that is probably the biggest piece of that making that change, that switch to intervention.
Yeah. What keeps you still excited and keeps you in the profession after years of moving around different grades, and what makes you get up and want to go to work in the morning?
No 2 days are ever the same. And there's always somebody, a child that I've worked with, and sometimes I don't even see it personally myself because it's not until 4th or 5th grade, but there's somebody will reach out an email, or a teacher will come down and say, read this, and you see that, I worked with him kindergarten, first and second in intervention, now he's in 4th, and it's finally like hearing it again and again, it's finally paid off, right? He's made that growth, or she's made that growth. And so I think that making that difference, and reading is such a life skill, and I think that's why it's still exciting to me all these years later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Carla. Thanks for being with us today and talking about your teaching history, and we're going to learn more from you about your role as an interventionist.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Join us next week as we continue our conversation with Carla about her role as a literacy professional in her building.
If you like what you heard today, find us on Facebook, like and subscribe, also our YouTube channel, and we're also available on your favorite podcasting app.